come in, sit down. There's no rush here, and nothing I'm about to say requires you to take any notes. Just listen. I want to talk about something that happens to women like us in rooms full of people who love us. Something that looks like encouragement and lands like a quiet grief. Something we've smiled through so many times that we've almost stopped noticing the smile doesn't reach our eyes. I want to talk about the crown we keep putting down. You know the moment. Someone, a mentor, an aunt, a woman you admire, looks at you with real pride in her eyes and says something like, "You're going to run your own company one day." Or, "A girl like you doesn't need to depend on anyone." Or the version that's dressed up in the language of faith. God didn't give you all that talent to stay home. And you feel it, that small, quiet sinking. Not because ambition offends you at all. Not because you're small or afraid or you lack vision. But because the crown they're handing you, with such love and such genuine hope for your flourishing, is not the crown you want. And you don't know how to say that without sounding like you're throwing their gift back in their face. So you smile. You say thank you. You file it away with all the other moments you couldn't explain, and you carry on. I want you to know that sinking feeling has a name, and it's not ingratitude, it's not weakness, it's not confusion about your worth. It's the loneliness of wanting a life that your culture has quietly stopped valuing, while still insisting it loves you. This did not happen by accident. For most of recorded human history, the domestic sphere, the home, the table, the raising of children, the keeping of household order, was understood to be serious work, skilled work that required intelligence, study, and a particular kind of excellence. The women who ran great households were not invisible. They were the architects of civilization's most intimate spaces. What changed was not the work. What changed was the story told about the work. In the middle of the 20th century, a particular vision of women's liberation took hold. And it was not wrong in everything that it wanted, but in its haste, it made a trade that has cost us dearly. It looked at the domestic sphere and decided that the way to free women from its worst expressions, the coercion, the invisibility, the lack of choice, was to evacuate the sphere entirely, to teach women that meaning lived outside the home, in the market, in the office, in the title on the business card. And so the home became, quietly, a consolation prize, something you settled for, something you did when you couldn't do anything else. No one told you that this was a philosophy, not a fact. No one told you that you were allowed to disagree. I do want to say something plainly because I think it needs to be said plainly. Wanting to be a wife and mother and a homemaker is not a small ambition. It's not a failure of imagination. It's not what happens when a woman runs out of better ideas. It's the decision to build something that cannot be automated, outsourced, or replaced by a title. It's the decision to pour your intelligence and your creativity and your particular genius into the people and space that will outlast everything else you'll ever do. A well-run home is an act of civilization. A child raised with intention, with beauty, with the weight of knowing they're deeply loved and carefully formed, that's a legacy. A table set with care, a meal made with knowledge and love, a household that feels like a sanctuary to everyone who enters it. That's skill. That's craft. That's a life's work worthy of your full self. You're not less ambitious than the women your culture is celebrating. You're differently ambitious. And your ambition is older and harder and in many ways more demanding because no one's going to hand you a performance review. And boy, do I love a good performance review. No one's going to promote you. The work will ask everything of you quietly, without applause. And you'll have to be the kind of woman who finds that enough. That is not a weakness. Rather, it's a particular form of greatness. One that can't be refuted, truly. Now, And I want to be very careful here because this does matter. None of this means that a woman who wants a home and a family cannot also want a business of her own, a creative life, work that she's proud of. I have those things. I want those things. Ambition is not the problem. The problem is the hierarchy. The problem is being handed a vision of your life where the business is the point and the family is the footnote. Where your identity lives in your work and your home is simply where you recover so you can go back to work. What I'm proposing, what I believe with everything in me, is that the home is the center. Everything else orbits it. A business can be beautiful and meaningful and an expression of your gifts, but it does not get to be the altar at which everything else is sacrificed. You're allowed to build something. You're not required to build it at the cost of the life you actually want. So, if you are sitting with that sinking feeling, if you have been smiling through crownings that you didn't ask for, I want you to hear this. You're not behind. You're not confused. You're not throwing your life away. You are preparing for something that requires real skill, real character, and real study. And the fact that you're here, looking for women who understand, looking for the language to name what you want, that's not smallness. That's the beginning of something. This is what we do here. We name it, we study it, we take it seriously together. Welcome to the parlor, Hummingbird. I'm glad you found your way in.